System is the very important word here, I guess. It's the key word. I guess, sir, your video is stuck.
Architect Habeeb, sir, can you hear us?
Yeah, sir's video is stuck, I guess.
Yeah, I will just call and check. Just give me a minute.
No, can you hear me?
Yes. Some technical issue. So Nitish, I think sir would be reconnecting. Yeah. You're on mute, Nitish.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Just give me a minute. I will just check with them. Sir, can you hear me now?
I think sir's video is stuck for some reason.
Yeah, hi, sir. Can you hear us now?
There was a security breach in between. So there's a ministry check over there. Someone would have logged in twice or something. So it was locked off.
Yeah. We lost you. So it's okay. So sir,
Yeah,
what you
so
were
we're talking,
trying to sum up. Yeah.
So we were talking of the immense knowledge systems that we have, and then it was systematic. And unfortunately, the organization of and regulation of design education in our country has killed the essence and the spirit of learning design and the spontaneity of learning design. And this has led to a certain degradation of the way we are actually learning design. And this should not be the future of our design education. And that is where we are, lacking.
So sir, means if we are saying like to integrate the design and the design thinking process for the greater impact in the society, so we need a holistic approach towards the whole thing. That is what we are trying to say.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Now, sir, if we are trying to understand some key factors to consider for betterment of our society, well-being, environment, and an organization point of view, so what would you suggest to all of us?
About can you say it a little again, matlab in a different way?
Sure. So what I'm saying, that what are some key factors while the design decision making, while doing the designs, what are some key factors we should consider in order for the society well-being, environment, on the organizational point of view? What would you advise to all of us?
That's actually a very large
I know,
platform that you're asking me. There is no there is no standard key factors which we can define and say that these are the key issues. If you concentrate on this 1, 2, 3, 1 plus 2 equals to 3, and so on and on, and everything will be all right as far as our environment is concerned, growth of our country is concerned, and everything. It's a very vast gamut of lot of issues put together.
Correct.
But I would say that design decision makers, you mean to say that design decision makers are our politicians or bureaucrats or our clients? Are you meaning by that when you say design decision makers?
We mean to say as architects.
Architects.
Because we feel that architecture is a profession, we are socially also responsible. So
yes, but unfortunately, that is not what our architects are doing these days. Our architects are not socially or environmentally responsible. The majority of I'm just passing my personal opinion that the majority of the built mass in our country is lacking quality, is lacking all these issues that you're talking of today. Asking of being environmentally responsible, being societally responsible, culturally responsible. Are we sustainable? Are we contributing in the growth of our country? What is our contribution as far as our corporate responsibility is concerned? We are nil in that. We are absolutely nil in that. And if we think that we are design decision makers, then we are wrong actually to a great extent. We may design, we may. See, I have been talking about this earlier as well, that gone are those days of the Howard Rokes of Fountainhead, where the architect was a ego bloated, full of air, and thought he was the leader of the entire pack, and whatever he is designed for the world, and gone are those days. Gradually, over a period of time, we design decision makers are no longer decision makers. Our decisions now, our design decisions are governed by so many factors. Factors like economy, finances, our remuneration, and the wisdom of our politicians and bureaucrats, and our clients, and the awareness that these all people other than design decision makers are, more knowledgeable through the internet and more knowledgeable through whatever is available to them at their fingertips, and the decision making is gradually and slowly going out of the architect's hand. And unfortunately, we do not have those kind of architects who will think in a wide spectrum, where you will not only think of your own good, of the good of your people, of your country, of your society, of the environment, of the mother earth. We do not think holistically. And somewhere our education system is also responsible for this to a great extent. It is responsible, but the key factors would be, which comes to my mind randomly, is like design education, learning aesthetics, sense of aesthetics, and importance of aesthetics, and not only aesthetics. Aesthetics is a small part of the design learning, to be introduced at the basic level. At the basic level, once again, reintroduce it at the basic level. I don't know if you recall, probably not your generation, but my generation definitely remembers, civic. There was a subject called civics, where we were taught in moral values. We were taught in how to cross a street, how to talk to other people. We were taught how to interact with each other. But that is now gone in our system. That's no longer there. Similarly, I still remember earlier there used to be a lot of stress on arts and creative crafts, which is also now going because we are becoming more and more. So that is one key factor wherein we introduce the awareness and the concept of design at the basic level, at the primary level, in fact, before the primary level. And the other is the way we are teaching architecture. I mean, to a great extent, the way design is being taught in our country, design, non-architectural design is still much better than what how architecture is being taught about. And this needs to change 360 degrees. And if that happens, liberation of architectural education will make it a little more. So that's another key factor where we need to liberate architectural education from the shackles of regulation and control that we are all having over architectural education. The other factor is, other key factor is something which we need to do it our own selves. We need to introspect. The art of self-introspection has to be taught to every designer. And that art of introspection not only deals with what you are doing with your work or the output that you have, but also deals with you as a human being and your responsibility and the relationship between your other human beings and your fellow beings, fellow citizens, fellow countrymen. So this introspection has been, we do it at our own individual level, meditate kar lenge, ye kar lenge, but that is independent. But collectively, we need to learn about self-introspection in our education system, wherein we'll be able to introspect as to what I am doing and what is my responsibility. So that's another key factor that should come into our lives, into design education, which will, ultimately affect the entire design world.
So you mean to say that we need to educate the decision makers in design, actually?
From the bottom to top, absolutely.
Yeah.
See, design is you're also an architect. You know how fluid it is, how it incorporates so many things. If I design a building and I cannot hear the birds chirping outside, if I cannot see the natural sun outside, if I cannot breathe the natural air, if I can't smell the fragrance of flowers, and so many other things, what is the use of my design? What is the use of my design? I need to learn. The design decision makers that you're talking of need to learn of not only these aspects, but so many other aspects that I've talked of. So there are many key factors, and the list will be endless,
Sir. Sir, just to share a little example, we were doing a project in Dubai and an interior plan was getting sanctioned. They told us each and every part of the floor, if it is not getting natural light, you will not get an approval. So I was quite, shocked, because in India, we really don't do the floor design in that way, and we have to make light boxes and light shafts to ensure that light reaches all portion on the floor plan. So obviously, why people are ahead of us, we can very easily find out and we can see that what is happening. So sir, now I would come to the part where actually the topic of the discussion is, how do you think, sir, the emerging technologies, like everything is going, technology based, everything, all the fields around. So in architecture, how do you think, sir, we can integrate the technology so that we do, more efficient design, we do faster implementation? What would be your suggestion to the generations who are coming up and who aspire to be like you, sir?
I don't know, like me, but see, technology is something that we cannot escape.
True. Absolutely.
The administrators of academics, people who control academics, think, that technology is killing architecture, killing design, killing all related fields. But it's not. Actually, it's not. If you do not embrace technology, then you will be out of the race.
True.
Race of whatever race you are running in, whichever race you are running in, you will be out of it. See, an architecture and basic design education, for that matter, even if you do Bachelor of Design, if you do, any other product design or whatever, if you are learning these creative aspects and you do not embrace technology, artificial intelligence, BIM, GIS, whatever you call it, UI, UX, architects are the most qualified professionals.
Yes.
Designers per se are most qualified professionals to, undertake these subjects. And you'll be surprised to know, in a survey that we did recently, more than half of our architectural graduates are now going and being absorbed in the UI, UX and the AI. So that is something very surprising to us, because they are most welcome there, because the kind of education that is needed for UI, UX and AI is being given at the design level, at the first year design level, architectural education. So they are most sought after professionals to join these fields, and that is the future. Technology is the future. We may be afraid saying technology will take over, robots will take over human beings, they will destroy the world, XYZ. That is your perception and your future telling. But actually, let's not forget that all this is being programmed by human beings. The feeding that is happening, chat GPT, or these bots, chat bots that are having these days, it is being fed by humans ultimately. I was just trying some days ago, chat GPT to find out who is architect Habeeb Khan. And the information that was given to me was absolutely wrong. So I thought it is still in its nascent stage at the moment, and much needs to be done. And I mean, if you see, take any subject for that matter, artificial intelligence.
Yes.
The scope that AI has in design field is unparalleled. No other field in the world, has that much of scope wherein the AI can be absorbed in a design field. No other field has.
Exactly.
And when it comes to architecture, real estate, infrastructure, urban development, just imagine the kind of scope that architects have, or architecture or design have. I mean, design as well. Textile design, fashion design, product design, automobile, everywhere, And this 3D printing is going to change the
entire dynamics.
Absolute dynamics of everything. The space station need not be launched by a rocket or whatever, You have to just transmit the drawing and it will be printed there, and so on. And there's so many other things. So this is a revolution that is coming. And say internet was a revolution. When it started in our generation, I mean, we were pretty young at that time when internet came in, and we said, what is it? And then gradually and slowly and gradually it happened that, it has taken over our lives. So technology, all kinds of technologies will take over design field, and it will be for the betterment and good of design professionals that this will happen. And if we don't do it, we'll miss the bus.
It is so engrossing listening to you. I can't tell you, sir. So now coming to the questions directly related to all the architectural institution, and I'm sure students and professors who are listening, they would be benefited. So, what do you think that, what at this juncture, when we are taking a massive leap, so what architectural colleges or architectural institutions needs to do different, so that, what kind of thing, so that we actually reach there? I'm sure many students and many professors are here and keen to listen to you.
See, what happens is, institutions are the germinators and birthplaces of talent. They are actually creating the future of our country. The future of my country is dependent on my institutions, architectural institutions.
True.
They are producing a product. I mean, I'm not calling product in a derogatory way, but they're creating a product which will determine how my country will be in the next 20 years, in the next 30 years, what my country will do in the next 30 years. So they have an immense responsibility. They have an immense, kind of moral commitment to our nation. And if they don't understand this, then they are doing something wrong. They're not doing service to our nation and to the future of our country. Like I said earlier, the way we are learning architectural education is wrong. Something is wrong. And we have tried to identify what is wrong, what needs to be done, and how it can be improved. And the government is going to introduce already halfway through the new education policy, in which liberalization of education is going to happen. Now, when you take admission architecture, you can exit at 1 year, you can exit at 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and so on and on. So it gives you lateral admission as well. Biology, botany student can learn architectural credits, or an economist can come and learn something about acoustics or illumination or building services. So a lot of flexibility and horizontal transformation and transfer and movement will happen. and you can bank your credits, you can do 10 credits, and you can come back after 10 years and do another 10 credits. And there's a lot of flexibility in the whole thing. Now, if that happens, that will actually liberate architectural education. Our institutions need to learn to adopt the new education policy and what it entails and what it is going to do to architectural education. That is the biggest challenge that the institutions are actually facing these days. So my opinion is that I will not say per se that our institutions are doing bad or they're lacking in some or the other way. But our institutions need to apply their minds towards not only adopting the new education policy and amalgamating it with the new system that we all will devise, but be more committed to the way we are teaching our students. Committed in the sense, committed means commitment to our own selves, to our own country, and to the students whom we are teaching. And that commitment is missing these days because we have now become, our educational institutions, unfortunately, have become businesses. They have become, and we are losing that thin dividing line which existed, which is a professional and a businessman. What is the difference between a professional and a businessman? Architecture was always a profession. Was always a profession, but now that line is getting erased and it is moving towards being a business, and that is the difference wherein the disenchantment, disillusionment is coming in our field, because we are going through that transition. We are forgetting what a profession is, and our institutions need to understand this. Our institutions need to be centers of learning and imparting education, wherein you are building a country. You're building a country through our institutions, not anywhere else. So we are not businesses. I'm not saying you run into losses. I'm not saying you don't earn money out of it, but there's a difference between a way, ethical, moral difference between a way a business is run and a way an educational institute or a profession is run. And that is what our institutions need to learn. That's the biggest challenge that we all should have.
So, sir, there are so many universities under Council of Architecture, and I think with your help, with your advice, we can take it forward.
We're doing it. We're doing a lot of work at the council, holding hands with our institutions. We're doing a lot of
with holding hands.
them,
yes.
And
but
so what would the horse to water can't make it drink, so.
Yeah.
Horse has to drink its own water. Yeah.
So, sir, what would be your advice or tips to the students who are very creative? So that they can, who want to pursue architecture, so that they can become more strategic, more creative. And this is not only for the students in India, even India abroad. What would be your suggestion to the students?
Students who are already learning design architecture, or students who want to learn design architecture?
No, students who are interested in architecture and already learning architecture or pursuing architecture, but this generation who are in first year, second year.
My advice to those who want to learn architecture, or rather for that matter, any design field, any design field needs to brace themselves up for a lot of struggle. Because in design, we deal with the intangibles. In design, we deal with the intangibles. We don't deal with tangibles. A medical doctor will operate on you, put you right, will put your heart right, will put your bone right. That's a very tangible thing that we see. My hand was broken, now it was put right. And that tangible contribution is recognized by the society.
True.
But an intangible contribution of a designer, which affects especially an architect, who affects the quality of life of your citizen. You're spending 24/7 of your lifetime, every day, every minute in works or buildings designed by architects. And that is affecting our mental health, mental growth, mental happiness, and well-being, which is intangible, which goes unacknowledged. So you have a very hard task at your hand if you want to join a design field or an architecture field. You have a very hard task. So you brace yourself for it. Don't cry horse, when life gets tough. That is for those who are actually wanting to join a design field. But those who are already there, already in the mess, if you want to call it, already in the thick of it, or who are already into first, second, third, fourth year of architecture or design learning, there are a couple of things that you need to do. And I keep telling to a lot of students in my presentations as well, that number one, if you don't love yourself, you will not be able to do anything else. First, fall in love with you. That means you fall in love with your own self, fall in love with the work that you're doing. If a single day you feel that you're not liking what you're doing, leave it, because you will not be able to do justice. And if you'll not be able to do justice to what you're doing, you will be doing injustice to hundreds and thousands of people. So love your work. And when you love your work, and when you like what you're doing, and that is seen, and then that falling in love with your own self and with your work and the process of work that you're doing makes the romance come alive. If there is no romance in your work, if there is no romance in design, your life is useless. And the life will become useless for your users as well, for people who use the buildings as well, So that romance has to be brought in design. That romance has to be rekindled, and that will happen only when you are yourself in love with your own self. And so that is first thing that you need to understand, that you need to love what you do. Else don't do it. Second is commitment.
Yeah.
When you are in love, you are committed. Without commitment, nothing works. So if you're committed to a girlfriend or your wife or your friend or whatever, and then that commitment brings in sincerity. And that sincerity that happens, it's seen in your work. I would want that you understand, my students understand, material. We all have, vibes. I may vibe with you when I meet you for the first time. We may become good friends, we like each other. Then, you think about it. You meet 10 people in a day. You like one, they become best friends, best buddies. But other 9 are acquaintances, and someone you don't even get along with. Why does this happen? This happens because of a certain chemistry that happens, certain various, issues that happen between the two. Same thing is with materials. Same thing is with material. How does brick goes with stone? How does glass react with the steel? And so on and on. So let us understand the details of how materials are live human beings, like human beings. They are live. So when we understand this relationship, why I'm giving the example is get into that committed state of mind wherein you are able to work sincerely towards understanding relationships with each other, whether it is material, a dead, innate object like material, but consider them as human beings, and you'll understand the detailing. And the way you do detailing, the way you give grooves, the way you design, the way you create excitement, all these are very important. So you get into the details, and this will happen when you love your work, when you will be committed to your work, and when you will be sincere to your work. So without this, you cannot become a good designer. Without these issues, you cannot do justice to what you're doing. You may produce designs, you may produce architecture, but what is the difference between, like you are into PMC, you said, in construction world, and what is the difference between construction and architecture? What is the difference? I will answer. I don't want to.
No, I can answer, but what you feel, I would love to know. I feel difference is whatever the passion and whatever you're trying to create in reality, we turn that into reality. That is what
right. That is true. That is true. But see, what is construction to me is something that stands, something that creates an envelope, something that is built,
Yes.
and architecture is when you breathe soul into it. Architecture
Absolutely.
brings that soul into that construction. So how do you decipher this soul? How do you decipher this aspect of putting soul into a particular construction or a built mass or whatever? I'm just giving you a very random, broad examples. So that understanding of what constitutes the soul of a human being, the soul of a building, is architecture. And that happens when you love what you're doing, when you're sincere, when you're committed about what you're doing. And let us understand, not only architecture, but any design field, artists who make these paintings, it's a marathon race. It's not a 100-meter dash. 100-meter dash is a glorious, full of glamour. You will know the fastest man or woman on earth, but never know who the marathon winner was.
Correct.
Because glamour is an architectural profession. Learning of design is a marathon race where you need to keep your patience, where you need to understand, have your stamina strength built up, and run slowly and gradually to complete your, so these couple of things which we all need to learn and understand. And these are the, I wouldn't say an advice because I am not that old to give advice to anyone, but although I may look that, but these are key issues, for
So I
design.
would like to say one thing here. Many people ask me, do you think I should send my kid to study architecture, this, that? So I always tell them the second largest GDP contributor is real estate. And real estate without architects is not possible. So, after agriculture, if you want your kid to earn money, the person should go to architecture. So I am very, very clear about it. Because once you do architecture, once you learn the construction management, the entire circle is complete for you. You know how to design, how to build. Then only you become, best in your industry. So that is what I always say. And even I want my daughters to be also learn architecture that later on, build beautiful buildings.
I don't say anything. I say my wife is an architect. I say my wife is an architect. Both my daughters are architects. Is that not enough of proof?
Yeah, is it also?
Had it not been a good profession, then I would not have risked the career and lives of my daughters. So,
True. Sir. So, sir, now we would all like to know your, how being so many decades in this design architecture entire journey of yours, how the process has changed, how the things have evolved, and what is your current, experience. So if you can tell us a brief about this little journey and, design from there to design till here. So.
See, when we started, when I came back from the US, and first of all, I'll tell you how I came into architecture. Is that what you know? Is that what you want to know? And then.
Yes, sir. From there to here, your journey, the entire design gamut, so that would
I took a gamble because, see, honestly, I was never interested in physics, chemistry, mathematics. I was very poor at it. I didn't like the subjects. I never understood why is 2 + 2 4. I actually never understood. And why we as human beings have actually made some laws of motion, some laws of something, and we have made chemistry, we have made formulas, and we have deciphered them. I thought it was always interfering nature's way of working. I always thought that. So one of my teachers said, if you are questioning the fundamentals of physics and mathematics and chemistry, then buddy, you are not fit for it. You're not, you're a dumbass. So I said, yes, I am. For sure, I'm a dumbass. So then one of my teachers said, no, you do one thing, you go into any creative field. Then I realized if I go into a creative field, I will not be probably able to make a decent living. The creative field to me at that time was restricted only to painters, artists.
Oh, okay.
Making paintings. We had no internet, we had no information. So whatever you could see, amongst yourself, your society is what I saw. So I said, the painter to bhuka mar raha hai, iske paas mein sala, matlab kuch kapde bhi nahi hai, theek se pehne ke. It was long, I'm talking 40-45 years ago. So then someone told me, tu architect ban jaya. So I said, architect karta kya hai? Well, building hai banata hai. I said, that seems to be a little better option. So, apart from cutting the story short, that's how I entered into architecture. But basically because of my dislike for mathematics, chemistry, and physics. But then I realized studying architecture had all these, I couldn't escape myself. I couldn't escape myself from, chemistry in materials and physics and acoustics, illumination, everything was there. Mathematics, structures was there.
Yes.
But nevertheless, and then I realized I'm in the right field because, before entering architecture, I used to criticize, the aesthetics of whatever was around me, in my city, in my house, in my way people used to dress, the way people used to walk, talk. I used to, have a critical eye in seeing that. Then I realized I'm in the right field. So that's how I became an architect. And then I went to the US to expand my horizons, come back. But when I came back, I started my practice in Nagpur. It was a tier 2 city at that time. Still, it's not a very metro city. Interior designing or designing was carpenter doing the job of the interior design. And a mason was an architect, or engineer, so-called engineer at that time. So that's how we started work. And then the value addition that you bring into the table, the profession that happens to, to all of us, that we grow slowly, gradually, that happened with me, normal lifestyle. But there was one difference. And that difference I'll tell you. sorry, there were two differences, if I call it differences. Then what others I see or the younger generation not doing. First is you need to create a brand for yourself. You have to create a name for yourself. How the hell do you create brand yourself? How do you do that? All our young professionals, irrespective whether they're employed, they're working with someone in whatever field they're doing, they need to create a brand of your name. And that is very, very important for a consultant. You go to a market and buy a 10 rupee fountain pen or a ballpoint pen, and if the cap is broken or has a crack, you don't buy it. You go buy a bigger car and it has a small pinpoint of a scratch there. You will say, I don't want to buy a car. And here you're spending thousands of rupees, lakhs of rupees, crores of rupees. And why should client accept deficient service? And why should he come to you? Because he comes to you as a consultant because you know more than him. And that needs a creation of a brand value. And every designer should concentrate on creating a brand value. Now, how you do it physically, internally, mahal kaise banana is your lookout, but you need to create a brand. Second, whatever you do, good work, bad work, average work, and you may think you're producing good work, but actually it may be average in someone else's eyes. But do talk about it. Do write about it. Unless you talk to your own professionals, unless you give speeches, presentations, or go to presentations and see, you will not be able to improve. And that is what I did. I started talking about when I did my 2 projects, they were complete, and I started talking about them. Okay, this is what I have done. This is what I have done. That's how you get invited. That's how you are spoken about. Great. Someone criticizes you, and then you learn. So you talk about your work. You go have the courage to stand in front of 100 people and say, this is what I have done, and this is how good it is. And they say, no, this is bullshit. So you justify, no, this is good. And you understand what is bullshit about it. And then you will realize how fast you improve. So these are 2 things which I did concentrate earlier in my career. And then I realized working in isolation doesn't work. You have to work in collaboration. And collaboration working means that you have to give back to the profession what profession has given you. I may not have been very successful financially or otherwise at that time, but then I started contributing in professional organizations, becoming their office bearers or whatever. And me being the president of the council is a continuation of that thought process wherein you want to give back to the community or do something for the community, a community which has given so much to you. So much means enriching me as an individual, not necessarily in terms of financial power or otherwise, or projects or whatever. Enriching me as a human being, architecture and architectural community and profession has made me a better human being, made me a more sensitive human being, have enriched my soul and my existence. So I'm giving it back to society and to the profession. So these are things which we all young architects and designers, irrespective whether you're working for your own, whether you have an office or you're an employee, you need to do all of it. And that is very, very critical for a professional. So this has been my journey up till now, and it has a lot of pitfalls, it has a lot of high points, a lot of negative points, but that's part of life, I think. You never know when you will get a next project. You'll be sitting idle for a couple of months, and then what do? So that insecurity is everywhere in front of us. That is a normal journey. So.
Correct. Great, sir. Great. So, sir, just one thing now, as professionals, what do you think the attributes or the skill set is required so that, we are ready, the young generation is ready for the, start their professional journeys? Because we are at the cusp of technology and science. Like you said, everything is there in architecture, and now everything is going super beyond stuff. So what would you think that the skill set or attributes are required as professionals for everyone to be better than before?
See, there are again tangible and intangible skill sets. So let us talk of tangible skill sets. If we talk of tangible skill sets, then they are, your knowledge of coding, your knowledge of understanding technology, your knowledge of understanding processes on how these technologies work, your knowledge of understanding the process of basically application of these systems in architecture or architecture education or architectural profession. So this is something which is very critical for us, for all of us to understand, for the young professionals especially, what are the systems, how do you put this in place? So these are tangible things, tangible skill sets. the
Exactly.
future of our country and the future of our world will be dependent on the skill sets that we achieve. Now, traditionally, when we talk of skill sets or skill development, we talk of, haath karga banao, handloom develop karo, creative arts develop karo, bamboo karo, caning karo. Na, the concept of development of a skill set has changed. So we need to have basically skilled professionals who are having specific skills, specific skills. Now, these skills I told you have to be a whole encompassing, holistic skill set. I mean, you may be very good in management. I may be very good in processes. Someone else may be very good in handicraft. Someone may be good in technology. We collectively together as a skill set nation will be leading the world. And I'll tell you why. Because they are tangible skill sets. India, excuse me, India is the only country with double-digit talent positive quotient. There's only one country, which is also China and Brazil. Brazil in single digit, China and India are in two digits. India is double than China. All other countries in the world are talent deficit. That means in the next decade, India would be exporting talent to the world. I mean, mark my words. Now, what happens when this happens? What happens when this will happen? Now, unfortunately, design as a field, which architecture is also part of that design, in the entire volume of this export that will happen. Now, export, now you may say, "Apna pehle bachche ko salary to dilao achhi, uske baad mein international baat karo." I'm talking of benefit of all in the longer range.
True.
We contribute not even 2% design professionals, which is very sad to know. Although design related work that is happening is more than 40%. So there is huge potential of how India can export talent. And if there's a gap of 38% deficit of exporting our services, and an economy, I'm not an economist, but as a layman, I understand economy grows only when you export and you don't import.
Correct.
That's the fundamental of your growth. And you can imagine what will happen in the next decade. To have that, you need to have tangible assets, tangible skill sets. And when that happens, world is your playground. And that will happen very soon in the next 2 decades. And fortunately, architecture and design services now have been included with our efforts in the last 2 years as a survey in the Services Export Promotion Council under Ministry of Commerce, which means design services are also legally, allowed to export services now. So, so this is a huge thing for our profession. But apart from that, we talked of tangible skill sets. Now we'll talk of intangible skill sets. Now, intangible skill sets, the biggest nemesis of the current generation is the time span, is the attention time span. Attention time span, biggest nemesis. So we need to learn. I mean, you may call it tangible, but actually it's an intangible thing because they are born with this. My 9-month-old granddaughter knows how to handle a mobile phone and what it is. So they're born with this. So attention time span has to be taken care of. That's an intangible thing that we all need to do. This generation needs to do to develop that, that advice that you're asking me. And see, there's a triad of information, knowledge, and wisdom. The generation, our future of our country, the next generations need to understand that information is not knowledge. And information that is available to you, is not necessarily correct. You get my point? And that is a skill that we need to develop, not only in design field, but in every field of our existence today.
Verified information.
Information is available on our fingertips. Koheli, these days, information is available on our fingertips. Whether that is right or wrong, we need to process.
True.
So a teacher teaches you how to convert this information into knowledge. We need to learn this process. We need to learn this skill set of converting that information that is available into knowledge base, into knowledge, by filtering out by many other things, but one is filtering out which is not right. So
Oh, it's good. Sir, got a little stuck. Yeah. Nitish, sir's video got stuck.
now it's working?
Yes, sorry. I think he got, yeah.
Now is it
He's connecting back.
Yeah.
now can you, now is it okay?
Yeah, but your video is lagging, I guess. Yeah, now it's
Oh.
fine.
Someone must be logging twice or thrice, so it gets, it starts the process of blocking. That's a security thing in my system.
Okay.
So now can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So I was talking of a teacher converts the information that is available to you into knowledge,
Right.
and a guru will convert and will tell you that knowledge that is available to you to be converted to wisdom.
Okay.
Tangible sets have to be by our future generation to become world leaders and establish themselves in a world which is India-centric. And talked about, the romance, the love and commitment, all that I have talked to you earlier. So all these sets need to be developed by the future of our country.
True, so very true. So I think with this, we come to an end of our session, but I can see, I mean, it was wonderful, sir, to hear you and, learn so much. And I can see there are several questions in the chat box. And Nitish, would you like to take it forward, or how is it?
So Ms. Koheli, I would request you if you can, because you can see the questions just on your screen, so you can take it ahead.
All right. So now for the question answer session, there are several questions I could see. So first question is, do you think it is important to educate the decision makers in design? So
of course, yes, it is. Of course, it is important. And I think it is coming from a guru of design, probably.
Okay.
If I know the name right, I may be wrong. But of course, it is very critical and very important.
Very important.
Educate. We've discussed this earlier.
Yes, sir.
That our decision makers need to be educated more. In today's time, it is more important to hold hands and augment the information of the decision makers, of all the teachers, of all those who are into imparting education. We need to first augment them and then come to the next level, who are the beneficiaries, who are the students. So we need to do that.
Even sir, people generally come and give, like clients, many times they give some criticism on the design and all. I always tell them it is like a seamless beads. You are making a necklace. You cannot be just taking one out and putting whatever in. So you have to see in totality, and then you give your comment. So then they understand the process, and that is the way they then start thinking. Then just coming and giving a feedback or a criticism really doesn't help. And we really need to educate our clients, and we day in and day out, we are doing that.
We need to tell our students, teach our students to be humble. There's something called humility. And in our architectural institutes, and the learning process of design is such that they create egoistic individuals, So we need to learn something, to a student, that humility is very important. When that humility is there, you understand, and accept and absorb.
Empathy, what you also
empathy.
Empathy is the word. So second question, Mr. Rajkumar Samantha has asked, sir, what about design thinking importance in domains like software design, product design, textiles, and architecture? What about design thinking importance in the domains of all other things?
Absolutely, it is important. It is important. And design doesn't only mean architecture.
Exactly.
Design is a largely encompassing, field. And all that we've talked about is applicable to every design field, not only architecture. So, of course, design has a very important role in fact, in toy design for that matter, software design plays a more critical role than architecture. Architecture, there are so many other things to take care of, the structural systems, the technological aspects, and so many other things. but design is only a part of architecture. But in a software design, a product design is the main thing. Of course, the product needs to work, but design aspect is very critical.
He's also asking that how to develop design thinking among the students from early days.
By exposing them to good design, by exposing them, by living them, making them live, have good schools, have schools which students will learn, enjoy to be there. I mean, imagine if you design a school wherein a student would want, a small child of 5 years would love to be there and will tell and force his parents to go to school because he loves the school that has been designed for him. These are small little things. The way we design the classrooms, the copies, the books, exercise books, their reading materials, everything, everything. So that's how you sensitize. And if you've been writing with a pencil, which is very nicely designed,
that is also affected. Yes.
Put something which is very bad or cheap, you reject it. So that is how it develops unconsciously over a period of time.
Miss Deepti Pandey, she's saying from Amity University. She's saying, how do NEP gets amalgamated and regularized through Council of Architecture? Hope we shall get receive a notification shortly.
I think she's a little out of sync. I'm sorry, but the council has already circulated the entire education reforms policy through the NEP and the COA to all the institutions. It is there on the council website also. It's open for comments from the stakeholders. So you can please visit the website. The policy is still educational reforms policy in the NEP. That document is a huge document. It is available there. And in which we have told how the institutions will transform, how will you imbibe the NEP policies and so on and on. So that document is available on the COA website, coa.gov.in.
Wow, that is nice. Pratibnya Power. He said, Power, the name is a little difficult and my apologies for wrongly pronouncing. My daughter is 10 years old and if she wants to become an architect, please guide how to introduce to her at this age.
I think leave her alone. Let her find her own waters. I'm sure your 10-year-old daughter doesn't know what an architect is or what architecture is and what an architect does. Let her leave her alone. Let her find her own grounds. As a parenting has changed. My father had never seen where I studied architecture. When he came back and retired, 40, 50 years later, he saw my school. This is where I studied architecture. And these days, we parents, our generations after that, are micromanaging the lives of our children. Every teachers meeting that we attend every Saturday, alternate Saturday, we go and fight with the teachers. ये एक मार्क कम क्यों दिया, आधा मार्क देना था, मेरे बच्चे ने क्या काम किया? अरे बच्चों को छोड़ो. Let them become individuals, self-reliant, self-developed individuals. So let your daughter find her own water. You just be the guide who's sitting outside.
But he's saying she has interest. She's 10 years, but she wants to become an architect. So
how does a 10-year-old know what architect? I didn't know after I graduated what an architect does. How does she know? How does it end? This is mother's or father's perception. Fathers and mothers desire that they want to make their child an architect. Honestly, come on, give me a break. If a 10-year wants to become an architect, I am so happy that my job as a council president is done, that I've created awareness about architecture in a 10-year-old child, Give me a break. Let us be honest.
Okay, it's so Juliet Pradhan. Juliet Pradhan, she says, it's really nice discussion, sir. Do you think UX or UI to be introduced in architecture syllabus?
Yes, we're already doing that. A lot of universities are already doing that.
So she's saying, I'm an architect by professor. I'm an architect, but professor at NITR in industrial design. Somehow I feel UX and UI is required in architecture as well. We'll love to know your opinion.
Yeah, of course it is needed. Like I told you, it is the future. It's not the future, it's the present. The UI UX is the present, and it has to be introduced in architecture. And a lot of universities are already introducing AI. There's this VIT university in Bhopal who are teaching AI, BIM, GIS, UI, UX as a course in undergrad. And
I think it should be part of it. Yeah, it is mandatory.
We have no objections to that. In fact, we have allowed it to be there.
And how about Mr. P.V. Rao asks, how about use of BIM is mandatory and to be made mandatory in India?
Gradually it will happen, but he's also saying that I'm very bold. I don't know why he's saying that.
That's what I just saw, that he has praised you so nicely. So I was.
Well, how about use BIM? I mean, see, BIM will happen, but see, let us understand that using these high-end softwares, like AI, for that matter, to be incorporated, or robotics to be incorporated, needs a lot of investment, a lot of money. It'll happen. See, a BIM software is very, very expensive. Very, very expensive. We can't. Our most of the institutions cannot afford it. A legal version, and without legal version, there's no sense, working on a software.
No point.
So it will come gradually. As it will become the necessity, the software prices will go down, the cost will go down, and then you cannot make something mandatory which is not affordable to all. A technology which is mass based can be made mandatory, but an elitist technology cannot be made mandatory. At the moment, BIM is elitist in our country, but gradually and slowly it will happen. A lot of offices are incorporating and working on the BIM platform. A lot of them are doing it, but it will take some time. Let us give some breathing time for it to be made mandatory.
That is what the questions I could see. And anything else, Nitish, you can take it forward. I think it was such an eye-opener. Yeah, somebody.
Anita Saxena and Shivojit Ghosh have raised hands or something. I don't know what is your system.
Okay. There is something, how to, okay, there's none. Nitish, can you see anything? I can't see.
I just give me a minute. I think I have posted something to you, Ms. Koheli. Would you like to take that question as well? On the personal chats I have. So I will read about it. So actually there is a question which was sent to me directly. So the participant wants to know how to apply a design skill to the practical life. That's number one. Number two is how to improve our skill in designing. And number three is a person without having any design skill, but he or she is passionate about designing. Is he or she can become a designer or create the skill?
Well, so let's go one by one. This is too long. So the first question was
how to apply a design skill to the practical life.
No, there is no such compartment as such. Our life is designed. Everything, like we discussed early in the morning, early in the chat, that everything that we do is designed. So there is no bifurcation between how to apply design. Design is by default applied in whatever you do in your life. The way you ride, the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you part your hair, the way you keep your beard or whatever, everything is designed. And let us understand, the way your thali is served, a vegetarian thali, when you have your food, traditional thali, it's all designed for your protein intake, for carbohydrate intake, for everything, all mixed, everything is all designed, has been traditionally designed. So it is a very integral part of our own existence. So there is no process to apply design to, our life or lifestyle.
The next question that they were asking is how to improve our skill in designing.
I think skill set sir spoke about the
right. And the last is that if they do not have any skill set, can they create a skill which will be helping them to become a great designer?
See, my personal opinion is in this that the innate existence of all these natural talent is there in every individual. What comes out, what is nurtured, depends on how it is nurtured and how it is brought out. So, you may be not a gifted singer, but you can learn singing. You may not become a Bhimsen Joshi, or XYZ, but you may not become a Zakir Hussain in tabla playing, let's say, or Charles Correa or XYZ, but you will learn that skill. How you nurture that, how you hone your talent in that is what is important. Everyone has that creative skills. So if you are able to understand your passion about it, see, I'm telling you, I'm not good at mathematics. So I'm not good at mathematics. It's not that if I will practice and I will not become a good mathematician. I may not learn mathematics. So design is a very subjective. So what is good design and what is bad design is always questionable. So there is no phenomenally successful designer. There is no successful architect. There is no such thing. Because it's a very subjective thing. It's a very subjective thing. I mean, someone may be saying, Sir, Norman Foster is the best architect that the world has ever produced. Zaha Hadid was such a phenomenal architect. But to me, probably Zaha Hadid is a very bad designer. You know, it is so subjective. It is so subjective. But a good doctor, a good mathematician, a good scientist is a very subjective thing. So in design, in creative thinking, there is no such thing as good design. Everyone can develop that, you know, instinct and that talent for design. I mean, how much you exploit it is left to your own individuals. You know. But most important, apart from your design owning and design development, talent development, is the universal acceptability of aesthetics. One who understands what is universally beautiful or understands a little more what is universally acceptable will become a better designer. Not a good designer, a better designer. See, if I design something, if I design a curve like this or something, and you like it, she likes it, everyone likes it. Most of them like it. That means I have understood what is universal acceptability of aesthetics. And that makes a difference. And that makes a better designer, not a good designer or an exceptional designer. Those who understand the universal acceptability will become better designers. Nothing to do with talent, nothing to do with your skill sets.
Yes, absolutely.
Great. So there are no further questions, Ms. Koheli, and so I would like to, probably take it forward from here onwards, sir. I would definitely and genuinely, I'm saying it. It was such an interactive and an insightful session, and I am sure that it is also a very, indeed an inspiring and enriching session for all of us. I'm sure that the audience would have taken a good key takeaways from this session. So thank you very much, sir, and Ms. Koheli Puri for being a part of this Design Talk series. We look forward to your presence in our next session, which is scheduled in the month of April. Till then, stay healthy and stay safe. Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you. Such a pleasure to be with both of you.
Pleasure, sir.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
The technical glitch, Nitish, was because there were a couple of anonymous attendees.
Totally.
That is where the technical glitch was coming in. Yeah. Anyway, all right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks so much.
All the best. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.